You know, maybe it's because I'm still reeling over having to have sat through Venom yesterday, or maybe it's because I've elected to get caught up on Black Clover because I'm an idiot and I love inflicting pain on myself. But I really enjoyed this week's Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. Yeah, no ifs, ands, or about it. I quite dug this. And so let's get straight into praising it. First up, thing I really liked, first thing I noticed, I really dug the colors. I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, especially because this show doesn't really have the most consistently good budget, but they made a really nice choice on the color palette. Like, the minute we get into the destroyed, burning Cyberse world, it really has this beautifully dark aesthetic to it. These nice, really aggressive reds and oranges mixed with this very sort of painful black type shades. If this sounds a little trippy, well, you haven't seen enough of my videos. No, but what I like about it, it really sets the scene up very nice. It really makes the showdown between these two have that nice sort of like old Western vibe to it. It also fits the theme of the episode, and that being the pain and the anger going on in Ai. It's no coincidence that fire, often a symbol representing aggressive emotions, is what you're seeing as Ai really gives in to these darker desires within him. It really is a nice choice, and it really made for a pretty episode. Next thing I like, just still on the aesthetic, love the destroyed city. Like, when you're going through it and you're seeing the data storm, they made a comparison to the final fight between Yusaku and Revolver, and that's a very interesting comparison to make because this looks a million times better. There's actual set direction here and actual reasoning for why things look the same, plus not as much, or at least not as noticeable, god-awful CGI. So it really does make for a good showdown. And moving on from there, I actually kind of like the characterization of Bowman in this. Again, if you were really interested in the whole concept Yusaku is fake and Bowman is the real him, you might still be disappointed or frustrated that they led you down so many red herrings with this character, but in a weird way, I kind of buy it. Like, when you see him, he's got that really all over the place weird design, but now it kind of makes sense. That's him when he's first programmed to have a humanoid appearance. All his bugs and programmings are trying to be sorted out. That's why he acts crazy. That's why he does all this. It's sort of cool you get to watch this character become a character in front of you. Especially because we have so many characters in this one who just have these flat, ridiculous personalities that it's nice to see that this was actually intentional and part of the plan. And then we saw with each new appearance as he got a little bit more powerful and a little bit more under control as he was like got all his like kinks worked out. So it kind of makes the character feel a bit more terrifying. You got to watch as Yusaku watched as this guy became more of a threat, and it makes it interesting to look back to it in hindsight. And then we get on to sort of that weird conversation the two have of, we're going to have a challenge to see who goes first. And they're like, you just want to go second, but then he just goes second anyways. If we were really being smart, then Yusaku would be like, I'm side decking, bitch, but whatever, he doesn't do that. And then we just get on to everything with Ai, and because the thing is, Ai has been a comedy relief character up till this point. And with how simplistic everyone is, I never felt he'd get much more deeper than what we've already seen, but you see him as he just watched his home get destroyed, everything he did to protect it and save it, and here it is gone again. This after learning the only family he has in the world are basically a bunch of lunatics. Like, you can understand that anger and that pain, and it really is shown well. It's so fascinating to me. Ai has so many things working against him from a design standpoint. No face, no real super great way to express, but the way they express emotion on this little guy, especially when compared to everyone else, is actually kind of mind-boggling. And then we move on to the duel, which I also really liked for some reason. First up, Yusaku's opening turn actually makes sense for once. He used cards that are good. In other words, he abused Dotscaper, which is what you do when you play Cyburst. He went for a defensive board. He knew his opponent was playing a highly aggressive deck. My problem with Yusaku in the last duel between him and Bowman's is that Yusaku, once again, as usual, used these random cards that kind of led to a play that we, the viewers, couldn't really go along with or like really understand the thought process of. But no, this made sense. He used Cyburst Gadget, Dotscaper, the Witch, the Ritual. All of these things make sense to be used over and over again. This is how you show a character's intelligence. Not just him having random shit all the time, him actually having a sense of strategy. Now, if I'm going to nitpick, and I don't really want to, but this is kind of what I thought of, the logical play would try to be and get out a first turn Firewall Dragon, or considering it seemed like he couldn't get to that amount of monsters no matter what he did, go for a first turn Security Dragon. You know your guy's strategy is mostly to get out a big beater that will be protected by Judgment Arrows. Now you can make the argument he has the negations and stuff with the rank 3, the link 3 and all that good stuff. But, you know, Yusaku still runs that risk regardless. But I think this is fine. This Cyburst Magician is actually a pretty good card and is actually a lot of fun in the Cyburst deck. Cyburst at this point really is kind of a fun deck. Okay, it's not as good as like Goki or even like Spiral, but I actually do enjoy it, and it is a pretty fun deck just to like fool around with at locals and stuff. From there, we get Bowman's turn, and again, I like that we get to see how much more intelligent and how much more calculating Bowman's has become. When he makes his points about, like, DNA and how humans have stopped evolving and why things need to be under Lightning's control, it's backed up by a much more logical set of plays. He broke a fairly logical board Yusaku had set up, mostly just by doing things that we already knew his deck could do. Again, we have all the pieces in front of us, so when we see them solve the puzzle, it makes more sense and feels more engaging. Seeing him actually go in and really be a threat to Yusaku this time around really worked and was really effective. And then we move on to that final Yusaku turn. Oh, this was good. I really loved the idea of Ai's anger coming out. This idea that sort of proves everything Lightning is talking about. Lightning talking about needing strong control and being more calculating and less emotional. And throughout the series, we see that Ai is just all emotion, keeping in mind that in our last duel, the more emotional character lost as well. Like, we see that Ai gives into these darker feelings, and because he has these darker feelings, Yusaku, someone who often responds to someone's more negative feelings anyways, kind of goes along with it and really does what Ai says, whether it makes sense or not, because he responds to that anger, because it's an anger he sees in himself, and goes for a play he might not have gone to had he not been under that influence. Now again, I don't really want to nitpick, but to be fair, in my opinion, the logical play was what he wound up doing. I think it really was better to try and go for game in that moment, because the problem is Yusaku didn't have a very defensive hand or field anymore, especially considering how much damage Bowman has the potential to put on board on the next turn. So I think going for game despite the risk is the right play, especially considering Bowman's trap is very situational anyways. It's kind of a real weird card. We'll see what it does more next week. But all in all, I think it really works. And then when Bowman's like, that play's not like you, I'm kind of like, I still don't understand how Yusaku's play style works. I don't know why he wouldn't himself try and go for game in that moment, but it's fine. All in all, I think this was actually really well thought out, really well directed, written, acted. It really was a smart way to go about something that I think deep down we all kind of feared might go a little sour, considering this is their third duel. But all in all, I really liked it, and I'm really interested to see where this goes from here. But what do you think? In the comments section below, give me your thoughts on this week's episode, if you pay attention to things like color and score as much as I do, because I do sometimes get a little fixated on stuff like that, hence Black Clover. But what do you think? Tell me all that below. And as for the TCG question of the week, now if I'm correct, and I think I am, the Soul Fusion sneak preview is this coming weekend. And that really begs the question, do you care about what is in this set? Are you interested in Thunder Dragons, a deck that kind of petered out? Are you interested in I actually don't know what else is in this set. I'm not going to lie. I just know about the stupid Cyberse Dragon and Thunder Dragons. But tell me that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and if you're one of the few people still interested in Dangers, my heart goes out to you.